She's a simpleton.
How do you feel about people dragging your girlfriend through the mud like this?
I think people are so sad.
Welcome. I don't know about you guys, but I spent a lot of time self-reflecting last year. I also spoke to a lot of people who seem to be doing the same thing. And I don't know if it's because of the amount of time that felt like it got wasted last year, even though it was completely out of our control. And actually, side note, that's quite a toxic mentality to have because the time wasn't wasted. I think surviving 2020 was an achievement in itself. But nevertheless, I think I and a lot of my friends still kind of felt like we have not progressed towards our goals as much as we would have liked. And I noticed that the main kind of thing stopping people from getting to that next level is caring too much about what people think. And so I just felt compelled to do a video on this topic. Practical, revelatory ideas and steps that completely changed my perspectives personally and in turn changed my life for the better. Assess how the thoughts of others have negatively impacted your life. If you can just visualize how skewed your life plans have become because of the opinions of others, that may give you the fire up the backside that you need to take back control. For me, I realized there were opportunities that I'd missed out on because of potential embarrassment or goals not yet ticked off my list because of fear of failure or choices not made because I didn't want to kind of disappoint people that I respected so highly in my life. The reality is, for the most part and for the majority of people, is that your life is a reflection of the choices that you have made up until that point. And so if you're looking around and you're not particularly happy with what you're seeing around you, it's likely that something needs to change. So there's this book, okay, and it's titled The 5 Biggest Regrets of Dying, and it's by this end-of-life nurse. Her name is Bronnie Ware, and she basically interviewed a bunch of people who are at the end of their life about the biggest regret that they had of life. And coming in at number 1, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life that others expected of me. That literally rocked my boat. From the moment I heard that, I pretty much decided on the spot that I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that I don't end up in that situation. I know this seems super, super dramatic, but sometimes it really helps to think about the magnitude of what we're doing when we are on the path of living a life for somebody else. When that realization sets in, there's nothing that you want more in the world than to make sure that you are setting out your own path. Think about the worst case scenario, then think about it again and again and again. We as humans are always so concerned with incredibly specific and unlikely outcomes. You've probably already heard this saying by this Stoic philosopher. His name is Lucius Annaeus Seneca, and he says, we often suffer more in our imagination than in reality. And based off of my personal experience, I know that's right. But listen guys, the brain is an incredibly powerful tool, and if you are somebody who has these really vivid physical reactions to even the mere thought of something going wrong, the University of Colorado Boulder, I really pray that's how you pronounce it, Boulder? Anyway, they basically have proven that you can harness that mental power to overcome fear and anxiety and in turn go forth and live your best life. So let me break it down. The study took a group of healthy individuals and trained their brains to associate a sound with an uncomfortable shock. They were then split into 3 groups, where one group were exposed to the threatening sound, the other group were made to imagine the threatening sound, and the third group were made to imagine pleasant bird sounds and the sounds of light rain dropping. So the group who were exposed to the threatening sound and the group who were made to imagine the threatening sound had remarkably similar brain activity, proving that imagining something has almost the same bodily reaction as actually experiencing it. And I can definitely vouch for that, because there's times where I've thought about someone really close to me passing away and I literally start welling up. Anyway, let's get to the crux. After repeated exposure without the accompanying shock, both the imagined group and the real group experienced what is termed in the science world as extinction. But basically what that means is that the initially fear-inducing stimulus no longer induced a fear response. But can I just add that the group that were made to imagine pleasant bird sounds, their fears persisted. So what does this tell us? So I have a fear. Is there a word stronger than fear? I have the worst phobia of public speaking, as in the mere words public speaking. I can feel the sweat glands swelling up on my forehead. According to this study, there are 3 ways that I can handle my fear. The first would be to just go on public speak and just keep doing it. It's likely that this fear of me collapsing on stage or tripping on the way up the stairs, crying when I see human beings in the audience wouldn't actually happen. And so if I just keep doing it and don't experience any of the negative stimulus, then it's likely that my fear will soon dissipate. The second thing that we could do is imagine ourselves public speaking and keep imagining it again and again and again without any negative stimulus. And that's also a proven way to help reduce the fear and anxiety that is attached to whatever phobia it is that you may have. The third thing that we can do is go through life comfortably, ignoring our fears and anxieties or anything for that matter that brings us any sort of discomfort. But the reality is those things won't go away. Those fears, those anxieties, they won't go away. But it's what the majority of people tend to do. How much are we hindering ourselves from getting to that next level because we don't confront our fears? If it's a really niche fear, like a lion attacking me on a safari, then potentially you could be fine going through life without confronting that, unless like you really want to visit South Africa or something, then I would say you should probably do something about that. But if it's a fear that's stopping you from doing something that you really, really want to do, then you might want to take a look at one of the other options. No one cares as much as you think they do. This is one that I think that we all have probably heard, probably know inherently, but like to forget this undisputed fact in the moments where we need to recite it to ourselves the most. And even though being aware of this undisputed fact and keeping it at the forefront of our minds at all times is the best mechanism for reducing anxiety. So I actually interviewed the Rebecca Kimberly for this video. She is an award-winning psychological life coach, a life development queen, and there's no one better to bring this point home than her.
So I've suffered from social anxiety for a long time, and I would spend a lot of my time in rooms not being present because I'm thinking, oh, what is that person thinking of me? And oh, they didn't really laugh at what I just said. So it's starting to shift your attention to what's happening in the moment, not just mind reading from other people. If you believe that, like, you know, wearing the color red or wearing lipstick is going to make you stand out and that's going to be a bad thing, start to make those little changes. Wear the lipstick and see what happens. Wear that bright color hair and see what happens. Start to notice where you feel like you've been making yourself small on the opinions of other people, and you will see just how many people do not care. Research actually shows that for most of us, actually about 78% of our conversations are involved with talking about ourselves and our perceptions of the world, not to do with other people. Not in a kind of narcissistic way or like everything is about me, but it's simple things like, oh, you know, oh, I'm hungry, what am I going to eat later? And oh, that person looks nice, I wonder if I wore that. You know, even when we think we're thinking about other people, we're then bringing it back to ourselves, and it's something that we are constantly doing.
We are so conscious of ourselves and what we're doing that we assume that other people are conscious of us too, but I promise you they are way more conscious of themselves and what they're doing.
As a therapist, there are so many different experiments we do, especially with people with low self-esteem or social anxiety, where we really have to push the boat out and go crazy to prove that nobody cares. You know, walking into a room full of university students and dropping food on the floor and realizing that only about 3 people out of 100 people are looking. They don't care. Screaming, dropping on the floor, nobody is coming to you. It's quite sad when you think about it, but honestly, like, nobody cares. And those that care are probably not worth anything. Make a distinction between the opinions that matter to you and the opinions that don't.
Not everyone is gonna like you, and that just is what it is. I really wanted to illustrate this point and not just sit and talk about it. So right now I'm gonna phone up my boyfriend who has been scraping through my YouTube comments to find the most negative ones, and I'm just gonna have him read them to me. I hope that this shows you guys that it doesn't really matter what you do, you're always going to have negative people saying things to you, and you just can't actually consider them. I don't know, I'm saying this, but who knows, I might have a breakdown. So let me just phone him up.
Hello?
Hello?
Maybe.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Let's go, let's get it.
Why are so many millennials starting a new life in Africa? So JC1 said, misleading title, this is only about Sierra Leone.
Thank you, JC1. I mean, I did say at the beginning of the video that my case study was Sierra Leone. I couldn't go to every African country, unfortunately. I would have loved to, but that's just how it ended up. I do apologise if that title was misleading.
AAENMNP6. Bye-bye and stay out.
Yeah, that one had a lot of racist people. It was sad. It was real sad.
Puggerino Pub 4, British, LOL. Ray Star 6 says, hello content producer. The audio is muddy. Roll off some low end.
I'm sorry. It was a one-man show.
How I lay my tracks. No clips, no glue, no needle.
Oh, I got ripped to shreds in this video.
Natasha 1. Weaves ain't simple. She's a simpleton. Sorry, pardon my French. Wait, hold on.
It's so funny hearing you swear because you don't really swear.
Biggest example. Look the word simpleton up in a dictionary and you will see a snapshot of this chick bobby pinning.
I quit.
Simpleton. We all know we can do this, but no one's this simple.
Oh man, she dragged me through the mud. I think she's jealous. I think she's judged she didn't do the video first. That video had a lot of views. That video changed a lot of lives. How do you feel about people dragging your girlfriend through the mud like this?
I think people are sad, like so sad. See Through Your Lies 2 says, shit, I live in the hood. Too many fights go down for this, LOL. Fucker Chimney 1 says, a hot mess, a hot ass mess. Mia N2 says, your hair's really damaged. Brittany Shanova 2 says, she made it seem like she was about to do some magic. This is the dumbest video I've ever seen this year.
Not the dumbest. The whole year. I have the award of the dumbest video of the year. I mean, that is really something.
Boy.
Well, I mean, if you've already got the worst, it's only up from there.
Next one. The next one. I almost commented on this one. Pastor Randy G. Newman 1.
Not the pasta! The pasta.
That's horrible. Go to beauty school. Throw a rock at this mess. Full stop. What?
The Bible literally says, don't throw stones from a glass house. And the pastor's out here throwing rocks?
The great thing was that there's so many positive comments and very few negative comments. But regardless, you just need to have your happiness rooted in you rather than being tossed and turned by the waves of the ocean and not having a stable happiness within yourself.
You just have to have that strength within yourself because it doesn't matter what you do in this life, there's always going to be people that don't like you. Hello?
Yeah.
That's the reality. Yeah. Thank you, Pastor. Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way. So I recently read this book called Show Your Work, and it's by an author called Austin Kleon. It just has so many revelatory ideas that helped me in so many ways, and so I would highly recommend this book. So there's this part in the book that talks about guilty pleasures, and it says, no guilty pleasures. I don't believe in guilty pleasures. If you effing like something, like it. I'm somebody with many a guilty pleasure, or lots of things in my life that I considered a guilty pleasure. I didn't realize that they were guilty pleasures. They were just things that I liked, but I would cringe at the thought of telling other people I liked because I just thought it was embarrassing. But at its core, what is a guilty pleasure? It's the product of you caring so much about what people think that you feel uncomfortable telling people about things that you like, and it's just such a bad idea. I have a bunch of male friends that like to watch girlfriends by themselves, might I add, but they don't talk to each other about the fact that they watch girlfriends.
Oh,
hell no. Just imagine all of the great conversations being missed out on because there are a bunch of 20-something-year-old men that are embarrassed or feel shy about the fact that they sit by themselves and watch a show about 30-something-year-old women and their struggles with life and relationships. Just imagine all the authentic relationships and connections, conversations that are being missed out on by these gentlemen. It is really, really sad that in society we have to hide the things that we love just because it's off-brand, and we end up missing out on a lot. And that's just on a personal level. On a professional level, Austin Kleon talks about the necessity of having like-minded people around you. The trick is not caring what everybody thinks of you and just caring what the right people think of you. We're always going to care to some extent about what people think of us. It's a natural human instinct that has been innate within us since the beginning of time.
Thinking about like prehistoric times, the whole way that we are wired, it's to kind of think about tribes. So actually, if I stay in this tribe, I'm safe. And if I go beyond this place, I'm not safe. And that is something that we've kind of brought into kind of modern day society, where we are mindful of going into spaces where we might be rejected or we might have to act in certain ways. It helps us to know who our friends are, who our enemies are, who we can trust. And that's something that's important.
So what I realized was more important than just simply not caring was putting a large amount of energy into surrounding myself with people who were passionately or successfully doing the same or similar sorts of things that I'm doing, or were interested in the same sorts of things that I'm interested in. And that way, when I go to ask people for opinions, there was both a higher quality of opinions coming in, but also those opinions were more relevant to me given the individual's personal experiences. For a lot of people, we have people around us who we trust and we respect and we want to ask their opinions.
Where it becomes an issue is where we like constantly start seeking other people's approvals, and when their opinions are so much more valuable to us than our own opinions of ourselves.
Just because somebody wants the best for you, that doesn't necessarily mean they know what's best for you. And it's really important just to keep that at the forefront of your mind when you are seeking out advice and opinions, and you are kind of simming through what may be relevant to you and what you could potentially just put to the side so that you can focus on whatever it is that you know you can achieve. Live each day like it's your first. So you guys have probably heard the saying, live each day like it's your last. It's a very, very popular saying, which I personally have never really liked. I definitely understand what it tries to do, but it just doesn't really do much for me. I think maybe because of that level of urgency that's just attached to it. Whenever there's a deadline attached to something, all the enjoyment is stripped away. I came across this saying by an author called Leanna Dell, and she basically flips this quote by saying, live each day like it's your first. Game changer. Where live each day like it's your last encourages feelings of irresponsibility, hopelessness. Live each day like it's your first says that you can design your life exactly how you want your life to be, and you can do anything that you want to do. It encourages feelings of endless possibilities and opportunities, and that for me is a far better ethos for life. So I personally have started to revert back to that young, probably naive child who knew exactly what it is that she wanted and was so ready and willing just to go after it regardless of all the noise. That's possible because I know that if everything were to go wrong, I can just start again tomorrow, and I can start again and I can start again, and I have so much peace in knowing that. So if you're somebody who really passionately wants to stop caring but you feel like it might be too late, then choose to live each day like it's your first. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and more importantly took something from it. Until next time,